让他们每次说话的时，他们想说话就让他们说，这样不是更容易一点？他们通过了这个非常糟糕的、灾难性的贸易协定，把很多的几百万的美国工作都带到了海外，并且出卖了美国的梦。这是一个非常让人警惕的一个现象。有很多的人，他们希望能够继续坚持下去，但是他们却在不断的失去。你知道，我们这个经济上有一个很重要的一个信号，就是一个激励。所以我们希望我们的这个经济政策还有能源政策都能够支持发展。在2020年，你会看到，在我们这个房间里，我们大家的人都看到过很多的变化。所以你会看到，在2020年的时候，我们会有前所未有的发展。这其中包括最大的税务减税。我们把重新拿回了我们的工作机会。我们很快就会能够有更多的发展，并且我们的中领阶层也得到了发展。不肯提这些事情。
Down and totally out, and they're reviving like nobody's ever seen. Opportunity zones, remember those two words. We believe in no American left behind, and we understand the enormous power of investment, capital, and opportunity to revitalize communities and bring hope where it is needed the most. To liberate our economy, my administration launched the biggest, boldest, and most ambitious campaign to reduce regulation. Nobody has ever come close. No administration has ever come close. In 2.5 years, we've done far more than any other administration. Whether it was happen to think, as great as the tax cut was, the largest in our history, I really happen to think that the regulation cuts may have had an even bigger impact on the economy, and it was quicker because we were able to do them very early in the administration, earlier than the tax cuts. Within days of taking office, I issued an executive order to end the outstanding, horrible federal intrusions that you saw. It was an onslaught into business, into people's lives, and it was really done by unelected bureaucrats. They were really accountable, and nobody held them accountable. And sometimes it's not pleasant to hold them accountable, but I do it. I do it, and we had no choice because we were going nowhere fast. My order required that for every one new regulation, 2 old regulations must be eliminated. But instead of 2 for 1, we have now eliminated 9 for 1, and we think that within the next 6 months it will be close to 20 for 1 instead of 2 for 1.
但是我们之前都没有做到过。
And it sounds like a lot, but you have no idea when you look at the
听起来很多，但是你都不知道，我们看到这些成堆成堆的这些条例。
Secretaries, we have some great people working here, but you'd go into rooms that are half the size of this, and they would literally be stacked
比现在我们这个会议厅更小一半的一个地方，它会有一堆人，谁都不知道在发生了什么。我就说，我们需要一些条例规定，但是我们需要一些明智的规定，要不然的话，就几十年、20多年之后，他们就会在拒绝这些规定。
But you haven't spent 20 years on environmental impact statements in order to build a simple highway or roadway that's desperately needed. So we have it down close to 1 year. We want to hit the 1-year number. And if it doesn't work, we're going to reject it, but it's going to be rejected fast, swiftly.
如果要是这个不能成型的话，我们就会
We ended the ridiculous Waters of the United States rule. What a beautiful name. The name was beautiful. The act was a disaster. 有一个规定，它是名字起得很好，但是实际上很灾难性的后果。然后，当我在签下这个协定的时候，我就发现了这个问题，然后我就说，必须要把这个解除了。 Strong people, very strong men and women, and almost all of them were crying. They said, "You've given our life back." These laws were horrible.
当时都哭了，就说你救了我们。这些条例太糟糕了。
in your land, and they would call it, you were under river control, you were under lake control for what is called a puddle. You couldn't get anywhere near it, and if you did, you'd literally be arrested. We're streamlining approvals for critical infrastructure. Our regulatory roadblock is also leading to major price reductions in healthcare and prescription drugs. We've got the prescription drugs down. First time in 53 years that prescription drug prices have gone down. And if we had help from the Democrats, which we do not have, you possibly have noticed that, we would be able to cut prescription drugs by 30, 40, and 50%. I've told some of the governors, Ron DeSantis in Florida, go buy them from other countries. I'm okay with it. I'm going to give them an executive order because Canada and other countries sell the exact same drug from the exact same factory for sometimes 50, 60, and 70% less than we do. And rather than going through the political charade and all of the things where the middleman, I hope we don't have any middlemen in here because somebody's not going to like me too much. We have a middleman. Any middlemen? I think they have to be the richest people in the world if you want to know the truth. They make far more than the drug companies in most cases. But I said, buy it from other countries. You go out to other countries, and what's happening already is the companies are coming back and they want to make great deals because now I'm giving the right to governors to go to Canada, go to England, go all over Europe, where the prices are so much less, because we were forced to pay for all research and development, and they didn't pick up any of the costs. Ridiculous rules, so unfair to our country. I said, buy them from other countries and pass along the savings. The savings will be staggering, and we're starting that program. But as soon as we start that program, watch what happens with the drug prices. They'll come down over here. It's the same companies that make the drugs. It's the exact same companies. Hard to believe. Altogether, our regulatory cuts, as mentioned, save American households thousands and thousands of dollars every year. The foundation of American liberty and prosperity has always been the rule of law. Throughout history, economies have failed when the rule of law is abandoned. That's why we must protect the constitutional rule of law in our country at all costs.
非常重要的一点就是要保护宪法中的规定，这个非常重要。这里有很多无法无天的人，他们身居高位。所以我们今天我已经批准161位法官。他们能够尊重宪法，并且依法来。
And as you know, 2 Supreme Court justices who are great gentlemen, both fully in and making some very big decisions even today as we speak. The 161, 162 that we have now will be at
这些法官
within 2 months, and then
的
we
名额
normalize,
很快
meaning
就会
we
变
go
成
through the
超过
normal
180
system.
位。
When I came
在
into
几个月之后，
office, one of the first things I said was, how
当
many
时
federal
我一
judges do I
上
have to
任总
appoint?
统以来，
Because I
当时
always
就
said it was
第
the
一件事
single
情问
most
的就是
important thing
说
a president
有
could
多
do,
少
federal judges
我们这个
and
法官的
Supreme
名额
Court
问题。
justices. They said, sir, you have 142.
他当时告诉我
I
们
said,
说，
what?
我们有
Because I was
142位。我
always
说什么？
told you would
因
never have
为
any.
我
Maybe you'd
当
have
时
1 or 2,
非常惊讶，
maybe 3 if the previous president wasn't doing
但
a
是以
good
为
job.
有
But they said you have 142. I said you have to
过
be
去的
kidding.
很多
And
总
we
统
did. We had 142.
能
And
够
we've added to that
把这些解决
through
了，但是
different things. And we will be at 182. That will be a
我们很
record.
快就会有
Nobody's ever done that
182位，
before.
这
It
是
was
一个
shocking.
破纪录的
But
数
I
字，
just want to say
从
thank
来
you
没有
very
人
much,
做到过。
President Obama. We
所以我
appreciate
想
it
说，
very
非
much for
常
the
谢谢奥巴马
142.
总统
Thank you.
把这个
I'm sure
能
his
够
party is thrilled
达
with
到
him, but if they aren't,
142
they
位。
won't say anything. Don't worry about it. Thanks to these and other policies, last
谢
year
谢这
the
些
World
不同的条
Economic
例，
Forum
在我们
recognized
去
the
年
United States as
经
the
济论坛上
globe's
面
most competitive economy. We've put it back
我
into
们
this position where
的经济
we
已
are
经成为
competitive
最
like
雄
no
厚的
other
经济，
nation. To fuel our
其
economic
他的
boom,
国家都
we
没
are
有能够
boldly
达到的。
and
国力。
boldly pursuing
我
American
们在
energy independence. And you see that in the Middle East where ships are at great danger and they keep saying, what happened to the
寻求美
American
国的自
ships?
主。
They don't see too many American
但
ships
是
over
在
there
中东
anymore.
的
You
时候，
notice
他
that?
们在问
We
说，这
stopped
些
the
美国人船
radical
呢，
crusade
怎
to
么都见
dismantle
不到了。
U.S. energy production
我们
and
也
empower
停
rogue
了
regimes. We withdrew from the one-sided, horrible, horrible,
这些很糟糕
economically
的
unfair, close your businesses down within 3 years.
国家，他们
Don't
做
frack,
这
don't
些
drill.
不公平
We
的
don't want any
经
energy.
济
The
竞
horrible
争
Paris
的
Climate
国家。
Accord that killed American jobs and shielded foreign polluters was a disaster for this country. Ask them, how are they doing in Paris with your
还有
Paris
我
Accord?
们
Not
这
too
个
good.
巴黎协议，
And I will tell you, when I signed, that was another one. Clean waters of the United States, well, the Paris Accord too. And I said,
这个
this is going to take guts.
纯净
I
水
just，close my eyes and I sign it.
我当时
I
是
got
闭
one
着
day
眼
of a
签的
big，hit from some of the radical left newspapers, and then after that,
然后就
everybody
被
thanks me. They thank me
猛
so
烈的
profusely.
被
You're
左
talking
派
about
人攻击
trillions，and
但是
trillions
之
of
后
dollars of destruction
却
would have been done to our country with the Paris Climate Accord. And it is
数千亿、
so
数万亿
unfair.
的
It doesn't kick in for China until
灾难
2030.
性的
Russia goes back
经
into
济
the
打击
1990s, where
本来会
the base year
因
was the
因此而造
dirtiest
成，
year
所以
ever in the
当时大
world.
家之后非常的感谢
India,
我。
we are supposed to pay them money because they're a developing nation. I said, we're a developing
当
nation
时
too.
还有中国，
Why aren't we?
当时我们还
Under
得
the
给他
WTO,
们钱，
China
因为
is
他们是
called
发
a
展性
developing
发展中
nation.
国家，然后
So we
我就
wrote him
说
a
为
letter
什么是我
recently.
们？
Larry knows it. I'm not sure Larry liked the idea too much, but he went along
所以
with it.
Larry
We
Kudlow
wrote
知
him
道
a
这
very
个问
tough
题，
letter, Larry, and we said, what? Oh, Larry wrote it. He said, oh,
因为
well, you
Larry
hopped on
他
that
他当
bandwagon
时
quickly,
写了这
didn't
个
you?，That's okay. But we wrote him a letter, and we said
我们当
much
时
more
写了一封
strongly
信
than the
说，
letter
就在
that
以很强烈的语
not
气
fair
说
to，have China as
这
a
个
developing nation. One of the
非常
reasons
的
they've taken
让
advantage of us
中
is
国
because of that.
在
And
作为一个
we're
发展
considered the big
发展中国家
fat
这个名义
cow,
非常的不
and
合
no
理。
longer, no longer.
他们已经不
We have
再
a lot
是
of things to work
这样
out.
的
And I will say this,
具备这样的
because
条
they
件
know，that
这个非
I'm
对
very
我们不
tentative
公
on the
平。
WTO. We're
所
winning
以
cases
他
for
们
the
当
first
时
time. We just won a
WTO 对他们非常的保护。
$7.5 billion case. We never won
我们有
cases.
一些
They'd
就
rule
是
against
10
us
万亿
because
这
they
样
said,
的
hey, don't worry
这
about the
些
United States. They're the stupid people. Don't worry, rule against them. Keep rule. We
这
had
些
case
司法
after
纠
case. Now
纷
we're winning，cases
然后我们
because
从来
they
都不
really
能
think
赢，因为他们就不在乎说我们太强大了，
we have the
所以
right
就
to do.
不给我们打赢
And
这
they're
个官
right
司
when。they think
但
that
是我们
way.
现在却
And
在
we're winning a lot
赢
of
这些官
cases
司
at
了
the。
我们
WTO level that we
在
never even
这
would
个
have thought of
WTO
winning
这
before.
一层面上面
America is now the number
也
one
在
producer of oil and natural
打赢
gas
很多的这些
on the
纠纷
entire
问题。
planet Earth. Net
在
energy imports.
像这个能源进口这个方面，
Net energy imports, this is so great. set a historic low. It's a 58-year low, but that's only because they only go back 58 years, meaning I assume if it's low now, it's lower than it used to be. Unless something happened that's very strange back then. But it's at a historic low. We're now a net exporter of natural gas, and we recently became a net exporter of crude oil and petroleum products for the first time in our country's history. It's a big thing.
我们的国家第一次以来在出口这些
According to the Council of Economic Advisors, the astonishing increase in production made possible by the shale revolution saves Americans $2,500 for a family of 4 in lowering electric bills and prices at the pump. And the number is actually now even higher than that. My administration is also restoring the principle that to be a strong nation, America must be a manufacturing nation. These are great jobs. These are brilliant, great people that know how to manufacture. These people were underappreciated and undertaken care of. But we take care of them. We cherish them. Past leaders wrote off American manufacturing as dead, but their policies were the ones that were actually killing it. We killed manufacturing. That's why we were losing all those jobs, because we made it impossible to manufacture. We've opened it all up. After losing, and this is a number that's hard to believe, and I've been saying it for 3 years, and I know it's right because the fake news has never corrected me. If it was wrong, it would have been headlines. Trump made a mistake.
当然，我其实没说错，因为如果我说错了的话，这些假新闻媒体的话，一定都会把这些作为头条来报道。
America is now gaining over 10,000 brand new beautiful factories, and many, many more than that
我们现在在
want to come back
不断的增加，已经达到了1万多的新的生产线。
I'm calling as an example Prime Minister Abe of Japan.
很多的国家在不断的回到我们国土里面。
Tremendous problem. We have big deficits
我
with your
们之
country.
前有很多的问题，
building plants. He's building many, many car plants now in the United States that he would have never built here if you didn't have this kind of a president.
但是，所以没有像我这样的总统的话，好多这些事情都做不到。他们都回来，因为他们想能够与这些机会和动作同在。有很多的公司，他们想回来，也是因为我们有我们的这个总理在不断的创造就业机会。我们当时有很多的问题，但是现在，
But they're all coming back to the United States. They want to be where the action is. Very simple. They want to be where the action is. This is where the action is. There's nobody close. There's no country close. When I meet with the leaders of countries as they come in, kings and queens and prime ministers and presidents and dictators, I meet them all.
和不同的政客见面，我把他们所有的人都见过，所以。 即使是独裁者，你们想进来的话，我们也可以见面。但是当时他们第一次，他们说的第一句话就是说，非常祝贺你们现在的经济前景，非常的不可思议。这是他们基本上每一个场合上面都会听到的事情。我在
thriving commerce with as many countries as possible, but trade must be fair, and to me it must be my favorite word, reciprocal. It's not reciprocal.
我最喜欢的一个词就是互动。
The American market is the most valuable and coveted market anywhere in the world. Those who want access must play by the rules.
所以，如果能够像和我们合作，必须得尊重我们的条例，尊重。
America will not be taken advantage of anymore.
不会再继 这样像以前那样被欺负。
Many countries charge us
之前
extraordinarily high tariffs
很多
or
的国
create
家都
impossible trade barriers. Impossible. And I'll be honest, European Union
建造了很多非常
the barriers they have up
高的关税壁垒，或者是
terrible. In many ways, worse
给我
than
们
China.
非常高的
We're
关税
working。on legislation known as the United States Reciprocal Trade Act, meaning quite
所以我
simply
们
what's
在
good for them is good for
做
us. They want to
一
charge
个
us,
法案
we charge
叫
them. It's a
做
very simple thing.
双
Even people that
一
aren't
个
well versed in what we all do say, I went to a couple of
来解
senators,
决这个问题。
went to Lindsey Graham. I said, Lindsey, let me ask you, what do you think of that? They're charging us 100%, we'll charge them. That makes sense to me.
所以我当时问过
It really
Lindsay
does make sense to
说
Because it's very unfair
你觉得
the
怎么
way
样
we're？
因为
treated
如果
by
要是
certain
他们
countries. There are certain
给我们
countries
关税，我们也会给他们关税
that，the average
这
tariff
是一
is
个
over
互动
100%.
的双边问题。
And we charge them nothing. And then they call it fair trade. That's not fair trade.
但
That's
是
stupid trade.
他们给我们很多关税，然
Of
后我
course,
们
this will be
却
subject to
一点
regaining
都
the
不收
House
他
to
们
be
的
able to
钱。
do these things.
这
Nowhere
是，
has
然后他们说这
the
是公平
change in
的，这一
U.S.
点都
strategy
不
been
公
more
平。
vital or dramatic than in our dealings with respect to China.
所以
Before
这
my
个
election, Washington
在
politicians
中国这个
stood
方
by
面
and did nothing while China ransacked our companies, stole our
也是这样。
intellectual property.
当时我
subsidized
们
their
就眼
industries
睁睁地
at
看
the
着中
expense
国
of ours,
偷我们的
and dumped their products in a deliberate strategy to close American
技
factories
术，偷我们
all
的
across our land. For many years, American
产品
leaders have
发明，
just sat
然后
back.
多年以来
Maybe
这
they
些
didn't understand what was going on.
政
It's
客
impossible to believe
就
that.
看着这
But they
些，
just let it
却
happen. And it's gotten worse and worse
眼
and
睁睁地
worse.
看着
And
它们
now
发
we've
生，
changed it.
变得
It's
一切
changed
让
a
一切
lot.
变得更加糟糕
I'm。sure you haven't noticed, but it's changed
所
a
以
lot.
我相
In
信你
particular,
们都已
since
经看到
China's
了。
entrance into the World Trade Organization in
然后
2001,
在
no one has
2001年的
manipulated
时
numbers
候，
better or taken advantage
中
of the
国加
United
入了
States
WTO
more. And I won't use this word cheated. I will not say the word cheated.
我不想
But
说他
nobody's
们
cheated better than
欺
China, but
骗
I
我
will
们
not say that.
我不想说这个词，
We'll
但
say
是
that off the record, okay?
我就
And there's only
说
about
这个是
600 cameras back there.
不加
In
不
fact, that is
在
a，big group up there.
这
Good, I
是
hope
这
you
算
use
是
it because it's true, and they understand it's true.
以
And I don't
背
blame
景谈
China,
话。
by the way.
当
I
然，
blame
我看到
our
现在有
leaders.
600多
Because
个
we should have
镜
been
头
doing
对
what
着
they were doing. They did it to us. We didn't do it to them. We were defenseless. We had no
当
leadership.
时中国
This for a
对我
long
们做了
time.
这些
This，
但
is
是我
long
们
beyond the
是什么
Obama
对他们什么
administration.
什么做法都没有做。
So I don't blame them. I said this to
所以
President Xi. I
我不
was
能怨
making
他
a
们
big。speech in China. I had 5,000 people in front of me, and I was talking about how bad
当时
China was. And I said, this is not
我
going
在
over
中
well.
国做一个讲话
I，was in Beijing, this massive
面
hall, and I looked down at President Xi. He was sitting right where
当
Larry
时
is. He was not
面
as
对着
imposing a figure as
5000的
Larry
观
Kudlow,
众
but he，was
然后我
quite
看
imposing.
着在那
And I
边坐着的
said,
习近平总统，
I said,
我就
I
说
think he's getting very angry. And then I
我觉得他
realized,
一定很生气，
how do we save this? This is going to be a
我想
disastrous
应
afternoon.
该怎么拯救这个？
And I said,
这
but
个
I don't blame
场合
China. I blame
然后
our
我说
leaders. And then I realized
我
it's
不怨
true.
中国
I，blame our leaders for allowing it to
我
happen. I've
怨
told
的
that
是
to
我们
you
这边的领
and
袖。
many people
然后
many
我后来
times.
想了想，发现这是对
But the
的，
theft of American jobs
但是这
and
些
American wealth
对
is over. They
美国
understand.
的
My administration has taken the toughest
经济
ever
以及美
action
国的
to
工
confront
作的
China's trade abuses.
偷窃，这
We're
一切
taking in
都将成
billions
为
and
历史。
billions of dollars in tariffs that China is paying for. We're not paying. China is
但
paying.
是现在
Because they're
我们
devaluing their
在
currency
让
to such
中
an
国
extent, and they're
付
pouring
成千
tremendous
成万
amounts of
的
cash into their system. They're having the worst
关
year
税，
in more
我
than
们不再付这
57
些钱。
years, more than half a century. Their supply chains are cracking very badly,
他们的产业
and they are
链
dying
在
to make a deal.
不断的断裂，
We're
他
the
们
ones that are deciding whether or
is-
not we want to make a deal.
在非常急切的希望达
We're
成
close.
一个贸易协
A
议，
significant
我们已经
phase
很近
one
了。
trade deal with China
有一个
could happen. Could
很
happen
重要
soon.
的
But we will
关税协议
only
有
accept
可
a
能
deal
会
if it's good for the United States and our workers and
但
our
是
great
当然我们
companies, because
我们只会签，如果
we've been
这个对我们的
hit very
美
hard.
国工人
We
有好
have
处。
deficits for many years. Go
我
back
们已经
many
在
years.
很多年以来都有
$500 billion
短缺。
a year, not million. $500 million a year is a lot.
5亿，但是这个是其实是500亿。当时中国可能造成我们60%的短缺。
Trade agreement with South Korea. It's a terrible agreement.
还
Our new
有
agreement doubles the number of American cars that can be sold to South Korea under the U.S. standards, and it keeps America's 25% import tax, known as the chicken tax on small trucks, which was all ready to disappear. It was going to disappear. The deal from the previous administration was projected by them to add 250,000 jobs, and they were right. It did add 250,000 jobs. Unfortunately, the jobs went to South Korea, not to the United States. That's what we got stuck with. We also struck a deal, which is historic, with Japan. It's just partial because we're having very tough negotiations and strong negotiations with Japan to substantially reduce barriers for American agriculture and facilitate $40 billion in digital trade and agricultural purchases. That deal was signed. And it's a great deal, but it's only phase one of the Japan deal too.
等等，这些是非常好的一些协定，但是这也是第一阶段。
Please don't accept that as, gee, he doesn't have a good personality. Just realize what I'm trying to do for you. It's about time, okay? Please.
所以，请理解，这是现在是
They recently came out with a poll
我为你们做了什么。
that President Obama is much more popular in Germany
当
than
然，
I
奥巴
am.
马总统当时非常的受欢迎。
He should. The day I'm more popular than him, you know I'm not doing my
但
job.
是
Let's put it that way.
如果要是我比他更受欢迎，你知道我就没有做好
Because
我的
we're
工作，
treated very badly
因为
by
我们
countries. They take advantage of us, and they have for many,
当
many
时
years. It's hard to
很多的
break
国
that
家都
cycle.
在欺负我
We're
们，
breaking it, and we're getting along
但是我
with
们
them,
现在
believe
在
it or not.
打破这个
Actually,
局
I
面。
think they respect us far more today than they ever
我们
have.
相
If you
信
wanna know
现在
the
他
truth.
们
We're replacing
对我
one of
们
the
的
worst
尊重
trade
已
deals
经大大
ever
提
in
升。
history, NAFTA,
还有
with the
纳福达，
brand new U.S.-Mexico-Canada
我们现在
agreement, a
在
historic
做一
win for
个新的
American
和
farmers,
墨西哥
energy
和加拿大的协定。
producers, and manufacturers. And the reason it's such a good deal for us is I said, listen,
为什么这个是我们对我们的一个好的协定呢？
you
他说，
on your product coming into the United States,
因为你的产
including
品
all of those
来我们国
cars that
家，
are now manufactured in Mexico. 30% of
这
our
些
business was lost over the last 20 years, went to Mexico.
我们当时有30%的失去的工作都是到了墨西哥，所以我们就说，如果要是做一个协定的话，我们就要我们的条件。而这个对已经把我们的经济提升了1.2%。然后左派这些民主派的人士在一直在做这个 witch hunt， 但是你就别想这个问题了，根本就是无中生有。
And most of them, if you had a vote today, I think most of them would actually vote for it. But Nancy Pelosi, nervous Nancy, has to put it out there.
佩洛西，
And if she doesn't, she's doing her party a tremendous disservice, and she's doing this country a tremendous disservice.
如果他在做他现在做的事情的话，这个是
We are also transforming lives.
对他的党派，对我们的国家都是
Nearly
一个
1.8 million Americans in their prime working
不利
years
的。
simply gave up. They gave up looking for work altogether and
当
dropped
时
out
我们
of
的
the
这些工
labor
人，
force.
他们都放弃
Under my
了找工作
administration,
的机
2
会
million，
但是
prime
在
age
我们
Americans have come off the
我们的
sidelines already.
管理下
People that
200万
we
的
thought maybe would never work
人
again,
会
and they
当时
fully
是
rejoined the labor force.
从没有
Something we're
想
very
过
proud of.
能够再继续工作，他们又重新
And
回
this
到了
includes a group
工作
that was
之
having a
中。
hard time from
这也
the
包
day of
括
our founders, the day they signed. These people have had a hard time. They're former inmates,
有好多
people that
过
went
去
to
的
jail, who are getting
被
a
监
fresh
禁的
start
人
thanks to the
也
landmark criminal
重新得到
justice
了
reform bill that I
再
signed into
次
law, but
重生的
maybe
机会。
equally so because the economy is so good. They're
也
coming
因
out of
为
jail now and they're getting jobs, and
现在经济的大好形势，他们都觉得不可思议。
It's incredible. First time they've ever had an opportunity. They get out of jail and they end up with a great job and they cherish the job more than you would, more than I would. They cherish, they can't believe what happened to them.
他们
And they're doing
都
a
不
phenomenal
相信
job. First time
发生了
it's
什
ever
么。
happened in the history of our country. It's really terrific.
所以非常不可思
When
议。
we say hire American, we
但是我们
mean
说
hire all Americans. By focusing
雇
on
佣
the
美
needs
国
of people,
人
not the，
我们说是
desires of
所有的
government.
人，
We're
并不是
helping our
说
citizens realize
只
their
有
ambitions and
政府
pursue
喜欢的人。
rewarding careers. Over 1.1 million fewer Americans are now
有
forced to
现在
rely
有
on
110万
part-time
人
work today than when I was elected. That's a tremendous number.
当时
People
是
were working 2 jobs and 3
做
jobs
办
and
公
making
的这
less
种职
money
业。
than they made
他们
21 years ago. That was the stat.
当时在我刚刚上台的时候，他们要做好几份工作，然后还得就不断的挣扎。但现在的话，他们就很多放弃了这样的工作，就挣更多的钱，而且能够早晨起来，他们的生活变得更加好很多。这个我们现在蓝领阶层也从中受益。最低工作，最低的工资水平，每周工资水平也达到了前所未有的高度。做中领阶层是3.2%，最低工资水平，最低层的话是9%。当你想到这个公平的问题，这是一个非常好的一个现象。但是民主党想消除这些影响，并且不断的增加犯罪率，从来不看一下这些来到这里的这些非法移民都是什么样的人。我们现在在不断增高墙，虽然你看到的这些很糟糕的东西，但是我们现在有27000的人士兵在边境上面，所以我不在。而我们有墨西哥的士兵，如果我们要，他们有不同的一些准则，所以我们的人要是跟他们说话语气不好，他们就会有什么电椅什么的，有很多的漏洞问题。这些问题，民主党人都不管，也许他们就更不在意，他们只想管这些无关紧要的问题。所以我们很想感谢墨西哥总统他们的帮助。关于这些犯罪的黑社会的人，或者to the president of Mexico, the ultimate hand, and he and I have a very good relationship, and let's ultimately see what happens. But those cartels are horrible. What they're doing, you see it every day. All you have to do is turn on the news. I want people to come to our country, but they must come in legally, and they must come through a system of merit. 当时制造了一系列的问题，他们通过我们的边境。所以我们现在的道德准则就是来帮助美国工人成功， 帮助他们得到不同的技术。所以现在有超过300多的不同的私人公司能够来帮助他们来做这个培训训练问题。然后我非常自豪，我的女儿伊旺卡可以来，她不断的做这个事情。她现在不断每次说话就会讲到这个问题。她已经创造了400万的工作。因为政府不能够做这个问题，不能够培训这些工人，所以他们做这个事情非常好，而且这个数字还不断的上升。所以我们做的很多事情都在左派的攻击之下。
As long as I'm president, America will never be a socialist. They want a massive government takeover of health care. They want to give government bureaucrats domination over every aspect of your business and your life. They want to eliminate American oil and natural gas. They want to enlist us in global projects designed to redistribute American wealth and kill American jobs all over our nation.
减去美国的工作机会，他们的这些极端的
reinstate the avalanche of regulations that have already ended, decimate the middle class, and totally bankrupt our nation. As long as I'm president, America will never be a socialist country.
我再次重申，美国不会成为一个社会主义国家。
We are reawakening the majestic spirit of enterprise and exploration, discovery, all of the other things that we need to create that exceptional character that our nation is developing now more than at any time in the past. We're a nation of unbridled pioneers and adventurers and risk takers. We inherit the legacy of courageous, free, and independent souls who ventured across oceans, braved the wilderness, settled the frontiers, tamed the Wild West, and raised up towering cities of concrete, iron, and steel. Our American ancestors produced miracles of science, lost revolutions in technology, created groundbreaking new industries, built the railroads that linked our cities, fashioned the skyscrapers that touched the clouds, and gave us the most prosperous nation to ever exist on the face of the earth. This is our American heritage. This is who we are. This is who we will forever be. We believe in the dignity of work and the nobility of each and every American worker. We believe the future is forged in the mind of the American inventor, the soul of the American craftsman, the heart of the American entrepreneur, and the faith of the American investor. We know that there is nothing we cannot achieve as one team, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. With everyone here today and millions of patriots across our land, we are making America stronger, prouder, and greater than ever before. And ladies and gentlemen, the best is yet to come. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
愿上帝保佑你们，保佑美国。